Hi there, I'm David Chen. I'm the writer for Narcosis, which is the debut game from Honor Code.
So David, what are you showing here with Narcosis at E3?
So what we're showing is a little slice of the game. The game is a deep-sea survival story. The basic premise is that you're a industrial diver, and you've been stranded after an accident, and your goal is really simple. It's just to find a way home. So at this point in the game, you've just returned to one of the facilities. You've sort of been wandering around in the abyss, lost, low light situations, looking for oxygen. And you just returned to one of the facilities where you work, and you're hoping everything's cool inside. And at the beginning of this demo, you sort of find out.
What were some inspirations when you were writing for the game? Abyss, Deep Star 6, anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, the Abyss is definitely very influential, because James Cameron is so amazing on so many levels. Deep Star 6 is a little less so because one of the things we're going for this game is we're really trying not to do too much sci-fi or fantasy stuff. The game's set maybe a decade in the future, and that there's a mining facility on the bottom of the ocean, but that's something that's happening now. And we take some liberties with the flora and fauna, but otherwise there's no supernatural stuff. It's not a morality play. You're not trying to get revenge. You're just trying to survive. And so that's really been a kind of guiding tenet for the whole game. Another really inspirational game was definitely Gone Home. It's a little hard to get out of a demo situation like this, but narrative is really important to this game. Because while you're making your way through the game, you get little sort of intermittent snippets of the survivor's voice recounting the experience, but in the past tense. And so right away you know that you make it through this journey, and the question is sort of who is he talking to, and when is he talking to them, and sort of what are the circumstances there.
What are some of the challenges when making a VR game in 2015?
Because no one was making VR games in 2014, it's unpaved territory, it's super exciting. Obviously, I think certainly after this E3, and very few people think it's going to be a fad. I think it's it might be slow to start, but it's coming and it's going to stay. The challenges are, it's all untapped territory, right? A lot of the processes and a lot of the sort of things that you take for granted get thrown out the window, and also certainly testing it is a really interesting challenge because you can describe something you're seeing and no one else can see it. So yeah, those are some of the challenges, I guess.
So your entire game, or most of the game, takes place underwater.
Right.
So talk a little about how that adds to the effect of VR, because being underwater is actually very scary.
Right. For some people, it's totally terrifying. It's actually the thing to note is that you're not just underwater; you're trapped in this suit. And we call it a walking coffin, and it's clever, but it actually works really well. It's the thing is, this is the one thing keeping you alive. It's this high-tech, indestructible. Nothing can really hurt you inside this suit. But unless you just start walking out of there, you can just die in there, right? And so we're really trying to work on trying to create this strong sense of contrast between what's inside your suit, this cramped little space, and then the enormity of the ocean outside. And then, as far as creating a game that's set underwater, that was actually the impetus for the game in the first place. We were working on this game long before VR ever entered the scene, and that was a creative challenge because when you decide to set your game underwater, that immediately puts you in sort of a very specific box creatively. There's a lot of decisions you have to make and a lot of limitations you have to work around. And I'd like to think we're doing a pretty good job so far.
So what challenges will the player face when interacting in your gaming world?
That's a good question. So the most persistent challenge is oxygen, right? Your oxygen is always going down. It's just going down at a pretty slow clip. So it's this sort of persistent stressor in the background, but you don't have to worry about it minute to minute. But when it becomes an issue is when you encounter high-stress situations, and then your breathing accelerates, your oxygen intake increases, and it's sort of like a slippery slope. Yeah, there's a number of threats, most largely environmental, and obviously you're in an extremely hostile place, right? And there's no human being should be in this place. There are some creatures that will sort of stalk and hunt you. And there's one place where we sort of take liberties with flora and fauna, in terms of sort of size and ferocity, but there's definitely not monsters pursuing you. You know what I mean? It's more just you're in a hostile environment, and then the other challenge is, in addition to oxygen, is at a certain point, you suffer hallucinations, which is where the game's name comes from, Narcosis. And so your sense of time and space can get distorted, and you'll see in the demo that that leads to some pretty interesting situations.
Probably the most important question is, when can people play your game, and where can they find more information about it?
We'll be out this winter. It's very important for us to release alongside the first generation of VR hardware. The game's not a VR-only game, but it's definitely really well suited to that experience. So yeah.
Steam?
It's going to be a Steam first. Yeah, we're building using Unity 5, getting great results. So certainly all the console options are open to us. We have really good relationships with all those guys. So all those things are definitely in the plan, but Steam first.